Hey everyone. Oh gosh. Gosh. I've been better at being on time to things in life lately, which really is a big achievement for me. But I did have some technical difficulties just as I was coming on live tonight. So I'm grateful that you are joining me. And for those who are joining the replay, equally as grateful. I'm usually the one watching replays as well. So I get it. Life can just be not quite convenient sometimes when people go live. So welcome to those who are here. Now, I better just check that I am live. Give me 1 second. Okay, let me refresh here to make sure that it's all well and good. And now I can see that there's people who have joined us. Beautiful. All right, so let me apologize again for being late. I was just saying that I have been so much better in life at being on time to things. And I was so proud of myself tonight. But then just as I was going live, of course, I had some technical difficulties. So I'm grateful that it didn't take very long to resolve and that we can be here and share this time together tonight. So please tell me who you are. Where are you? I'm going to come into the comments. Oops, where have they gone? I've just opened up the comments so I can see who I'm talking to. Now, if you haven't been live with me before recently and you haven't heard my instructions that I always tend to give, I am going live using a third-party streaming software so I can go straight to the Facebook group and YouTube at the same time. But it just means that you need to give Facebook permission to show me your name. So if you could just click the link. Hey, Kay, I can see your name. That's awesome. If you can click the link in the description of this post so that I can see your name, that would be amazing. Let's put my drink down. Hello, Margaret from Warragul. And someone's in Brighton. Is that Brighton, Victoria, or Brighton, England? I'd love to know. All right, now I'm just going to get my screen ready here. It's been a while, guys, since I've been in here regularly because I'm usually now over in the No Fuss Nourished method or the No Fuss fam. Hey, Misha. Yes, you did. Hey, Julie. Nice to see you. And I really enjoy being with you all. And so I'm excited that we've been able to carve out this time tonight, this Wednesday night, this Friday night, and then again next week, Monday midday and Wednesday night. Okay, for this person who says, hi, can you see me? Can't find the link on my phone. Look, that's okay. I just won't be able to see your name. I can't see your name, but we can manage. If you can't see the link, totally okay. Brighton and Brisbane. Oh, I've lived in Brisbane. I didn't even know there was a Brighton in Brisbane. Hello from Sydney and Townsville. It's awesome to see you. Thank you for coming. All right, let's do this. So in my coaching role, as well as the one-on-ones, as well as just being inside this main community and the DMs that I get, like I'm very regularly being told that we're overwhelmed. We are overwhelmed with life. And sometimes improving our family's health, improving our own health through the food that we give them seems to go by the wayside more often than we'd like as parents. And please, so I can get a gauge of where everyone's at, can you please let me know in the comments if that feels right for you? Like, do you feel like life, there's so much to life? And I think that's totally valid and understandable because our heads really can be so full of all the adult things that we need to consider in life that there really isn't a whole bunch of headspace left to figure out new things. And particularly if it's a topic that feels overwhelming, which commonly this topic can feel quite overwhelming, not just in learning what to do or gaining the skills to do it, but also in managing the emotions and the reactions of the people in our family if they don't like the things. So I would like to know if that's kind of where you guys are at or where you are at. So tell me if that's kind of sitting right with you. When we have to, when we try to change things up for ourselves, we try to do something different. Maybe we've tried with our family and it hasn't been received very well. I think we've all been there and done that. as a parent, and I think most of us, maybe 95% of us in this group, maybe more, are mothers. And I think it's quite common for us to feel a bit taken for granted, maybe a bit unappreciated. And we can end up feeling a bit despondent at all these wonderful, sweeping changes we're trying to make in our family, especially if they're just not received with gratitude, or even if they're received with flat out rudeness and contempt. So food can actually sometimes turn into that source of negativity, resentment, contention within the family. And underneath all of that, sometimes we can worry that it's somehow a fault of our own creation and that we are like somehow we've stuffed things up and we're just not good enough as a parent. It can, like, we spiral in our thoughts. I know often many of us do. And so when that happens, that we can tend to just continue on autopilot, which kind of do what we've always done. Those neural pathways are strong. And so our brain just continues to go and do what we've always done. But because we're not completely satisfied with that, because we've tried to make changes and failed in your eyes, often there's the mental load actually grows, even though you're on autopilot, because there's this ever-present nagging feeling that you could be doing better and that you're not reaching your potential and that your kid's fussiness is your fault because you didn't do X, Y, and Z when they were younger. Or we can lay in bed at night and think, oh, we're failing our kids, blah, blah, blah. All these things, all these negative self-critical remarks that just make us feel worse and worse and worse. And as much as I know that the incredible functions and nutrient density of whole foods can fuel this life of energy and clarity and stability, I'm also a big believer in the fact that we're all actually doing the best we can with what we have available to us. You're doing the best with what you have available to you, with the energy that's available to you, the time that's available to you, the knowledge that you have, the emotional bandwidth that you have. I also believe that you're probably doing better than you think you are. Better as a mother, better nutritionally, better in most areas of life. You're likely doing far better than you think you are. And we are our biggest critics when we can actually be our biggest cheerleader for ourselves. And you are here. And so, I know that you want more. I know that you believe that you might actually be ready to shift things in that positive direction for yourself and for your family. And I absolutely adore that. I'm coming back into the comments to see. Oh, hang on a second. Oh, yeah. Yeah, someone's sorry, I don't know your name, but you've said you're very overwhelmed with life. Someone's eating raw suva right now from the shop, as today has just been too much. Yes, Kay. Someone's feeling uninspired, and the words that I've said have been my life lately. Okay, that did it. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Sometimes we all need a bit of a reality check and a little bit of real words to actually remind you of your worth and that you are actually doing a great job. So I can tell that this is kind of where we're all at. I can tell that what I've planned to say is, I think, going to land in the right place. So thank you for coming. I hope that I can share something of worth with you tonight. And it's actually not the topic that I would have chosen. You guys chose this one. It's definitely not where I would have gone with it. But guys, I'm a huge believer in women. I'm a huge believer that we are leaders in our home. And also if we have a partner, they are, of course, a leader as well. Sometimes we dismiss, in the busyness of life that we were just talking about with our mental load at capacity, sometimes we go through the motions of getting to where we need to be and of packing the things we need to pack and of being on time for this thing and of making sure we've got the form for that and shepherding and moving. We actually sometimes can temporarily forget that we're actually leaders of these children. We are we're not necessarily molding them, but we can be leaders in our family. And for, say, the last 12 months, I've been a huge believer in the fact that we can take greater strides in life when we're actually doing a few simple things for ourselves regularly. We're going to talk more on that on Wednesday. I'll leave that part there, but I just wanted to mention that actually you're number one. And everyone else is going to do a whole lot better when you're doing well. So let's talk more about that on Wednesday. Tonight is actually all about the kids and the family, because that's what you guys requested most of. And I just love that you're here and that you're showing yourself and me that you can actually see a greater possibility. And it's a possibility where you can build this positive food culture in your home, that, you know, food can be this source of vibrancy and of energy and a communication of love and joy and connection, like a tool for connection in your family. It doesn't need to be the flip side that it can so often be. Food can actually be, instead of one of the biggest drains in your life, which is, I have been there, I was there for years. I know what it can feel like, where the burden of having to provide food 3 times a day, more than 3 times a day, for all the people in your family, it can feel like a big drain of your time and energy. But really, what the possibility is that you can flip it, and it really can be one of the biggest inputs in your life that drives you. And not just because you're being nourished yourself, but because you've built this food culture that really does help drive the family, and it is a source of connection and joy. And it really can be like that. And I guess that's probably a conversation for another day. But we can raise kids who are capable in the kitchen. We can raise kids who are confident around food and can actually become exploratory instead of limited with their food. And you can actually develop the skills and the confidence required to make all that happen in your family. And it can be less of a chore and more of this autonomic or automatic, I'm not sure what the right word there would be, but this autonomic dance of creation that's done and dusted in the least amount of time possible, that's reasonable for you in your life. So that's probably enough blabbing about my love of these principles, but we need to put it into action with some ideas for these meals. But I'm really glad Danielle says yes. Danielle, welcome. I know that you've joined the No Fuss fam over the weekend. Welcome. I can't wait to get to know you better. So, guys, that's what's possible for you, my friends. So I'm going to keep talking, but while I'm doing that, I would like for you to tell me in the comments if any of those other bits appeal to you. I know that a lot of you are here for recipes and ideas, and we are going to fire them out real quick. But is there part of the food culture or the way that you see food and meal prep, is there a part of that you'd like to see changed in your family? Please let me know in the comments. What does that food culture feel like in your home now? How do you feel around food and food prep and being the food provider? What would you like to have changed? Now, I do want to tell you that at the end of these 3 trainings, Wednesday next week, I will be opening the doors to the No Fuss Nourished method, or the No Fuss fam, as I like to call them. We actually started that over a year ago, and I haven't actually put any effort into growing it. I've just been in there and feeling my way with it and getting to know the women there and figuring out the best way that I can serve. And we've been doing some wonderful things in there. And if over the next 1.5 weeks, if by the end of it you feel called to join us and start, making those shifts in that positive forward momentum direction and having me help you, I'd love to do that. And if you don't, that is totally okay too. There is a time and a season for all things, and you are so welcome. Everyone is welcome to join me for as much of this 1.5 weeks as you want. I'm going to answer every single question that is thrown my way, and there is already a huge list of them. I'm going to answer them on Monday next week at lunchtime. So if you have questions, make sure you send them my way on Messenger, and I'll make sure that I get to that if it's not already covered in the core trainings that we do. So someone has said, the constant whinging and arguing for something different. Someone else said the children to make their own snacks and basic meals. Oh, yes, I am a big lover of that. Kay says, I'm the main person who plans, shops, preps, cooks meals at home. I wish I could get my partner more involved. Yes to that. Okay. Danielle said, I'd love my hubby to be more on board and not thinking I'm super OTT with trying to cull white grain, synthetic folic acid additives, la la la. It feels so hard to be the only one doing the thinking. Yes, Danielle. I've been working on some scripts. We've provided scripts already in the No Fast fam, so you'll get them, Danielle, for kids about how to explain in a way that's kid friendly, that's short and succinct, and just to gently help educate them over time. I'm working on some for partners as well, because partners sometimes, obviously you can't generalize everyone, but often partners will respond really well with studies or with, just like a summary of a study and with some links, or there's a cost saving, that's a big one as well. There's lots of different ways that we can go with partners, and I have run a training on that in the past, and it's probably time to bring that one back up again. So thank you for that reminder. Okay. Chips for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Yeah, someone said Danielle, same in my house. Okay. Someone said, sorry, I don't know your name. Your book about belly bugs has been a huge help, Lainey, with the kids. Yes, I love that. And my gosh, I know I've been promising that second book for a while. We did this kids book all about the first principle for gut health is diversity in the food that we eat, right? Like that's foundational 101 for gut health, is that we want a wide variety of foods coming in regularly. And often, kids might not want variety. They like the same things that they like to eat. And so we wrote this book. It was my daughter, Lila, and I. She illustrated, I wrote, and it's been a huge hit. Like, people are still telling me, it was one of the first pieces of content we gave in the membership. It was like a year and a bit ago. People are still saying that their kids are still asking for it, and they still want to read it. And then they ask, like, there's different, we gave the bugs like the different bacteria, we gave them all names and characters and their superpowers, and you eat certain foods to feed their superpower. And yeah, kids are asking for all sorts of food. So I am so happy to hear that. Okay, let's get a move on. So tonight, when I asked you what support you wanted, I was actually really surprised that the biggest thing that you asked for were kid-friendly meals that are simple, that are quick, that can be weeknight dinners on high rotation in a meal plan. That's the kind of vibe that we're going for tonight. But not just dinners. Lots of people were asking about breakfast, lunch, and snacks. So we are just going to lay it all out. Tomorrow, I'm actually going to send you a download that has the recipes for all of these things. It was going to slow me down too much tonight to try to give it all to you at once and go into all the details on the screen. So we're just kind of going to go across the ideas tonight. You feel free to have a pen and paper, because I will give tips around how to boost certain meals or how to make, lots, just little tips here and there along the way. So do feel free to grab a pen and paper and just jot some things down as we're talking. But I will give you the recipes tomorrow. A lot of them are mine, but some of them are other people's recipes. So what I'll do is I'll make sure that there's a link to their website there. And one of the reasons I didn't want to talk about this topic tonight is that I kind of feel like, I don't know, there's recipe websites everywhere. There's millions of recipes out there on the wide world web, and every person's so different with different preferences and allergies, and like even adults have our own preferences, let alone the kids who are learning that food is safe and which flavors are they comfortable with. And I just simply can't wave a magic wand and guarantee that all the ideas I'm going to give you tonight will be loved by your children. That obviously that's not realistic. There's no way that we can do that. And so I thought, well, I don't want to give suggestions, but so many people ask for it that I'm just going to give you what my family love, and what I think also is it's a pretty great place to shoot for most families. Now, later, we're going to bring it all together and talk about how it all works in the week for your, like in the third piece of content, which is Friday night. It's all about pulling it together in a way that makes it all work. So, meals for the kids, meals for you, self-care stuff, like lots of people ask me for a week in the life of my family. That's pretty much what I'm going to do. So show you what systems and habits I use to kind of make it happen. If your child is picky or fussy, Gosh, that's a conversation for another day. I do have a whole module on that inside No Fuss, but I will give you my top tips. Danielle said that book has been fantastic. My 3.5-year-old is still obsessed with it, and it encouraged her to try. Kefir. Okay, a couple of people are asking where to buy the book. I don't have it available publicly, but I do plan to. I'm actually going to print it in a physical book, which I'm super excited about. I will update you when that happens, but it's inside the membership for now, and there's a second one coming, I want to say within 2 weeks. And Danielle's excited for the week in the life. Yes, nutrient-dense food for teenagers. Whoever asked that, I have planned for that one to be in the Q&A. It was there was only one person that asked for that. I'm not sure if that was you or someone else, but I've planned it for the Q&A on Monday. So I hope that helps. All right, let's do it. So here's some tips. Like I said, there's a whole module on fussy eating and picky eating inside the No Fuss fam, but just so that it gives you some ideas for right now, so I'm not leaving you hanging, I want to just give you some quick tips. Number one is keep it light. We don't want food to be a heavy topic. We want it to be light, fun, no pressure. We want it, and I know this is very much easier said than done. There's a whole lot of parenting that goes along with feeding our families, I know. And sometimes we have the space and the energy for it, and sometimes we don't. And I'm going to talk about that later, and particularly on Wednesday night. But we do want to just keep it light. Forcing our kids to eat food isn't keeping it light. Inviting them to eat food is keeping it light. There's, putting some music on and saying, hey, I'm going to try this food that I'm not comfortable with. I've never tried it before. What do you think? Shall we do it together? And doing it that way. There's a whole bunch of ways that we can keep it light. But the principle that I want you to remember is that if we want to build a positive food culture in our home, it's important to keep it light. And I know that none of us are going to be perfect at that. We're all human beings, but that's where we want to actually shoot for. We also want to go for connection before coercion. I'm pretty sure I stole this term from my friend Justin Coulson, the parenting expert, but I love it, and I've kind of taken it on as mine now too. Our kids are not going to want to listen to us. Our kids are not going to want to follow our invitations unless they feel a connection with us. And I remember one day on one of my one-on-one client calls, there was a woman who had a teenager who was just super angsty, it was almost like their relationship was super on the rocks. They were fighting. She was barely at home. And she, in her beautiful mother heart, wanted to turn the food around for the child because she knew that she needed it. Her mental health needed it. Her physical health needed it. And as a mother, you know what your child needs. And I just said to her, I'm so sorry, but abandon that for now and just focus on your connection with your beautiful child. Like, just take her out, have some one-on-one time, try to compliment her, the basic tips for connecting with your child. And sometimes we need that reminder as parents that they're not just robots. They actually need a connection with us. So that's tip number 2. Number 3 is stay in your lane. There's been so much study around this, but basically it's the premise that it's your role to decide what food is on offer in the home and when. That's it. It's your child's job to decide what they eat of what's on offer and how much they eat of it, or even any at all. We've got to stay in our lane. And when we do that, it does help to remove the pressure, remove any forcing. It helps develop that connection with your child because you're not overstepping your boundary, you're staying in your lane. Number 4, serve friendly foods that they love and they're familiar with and that they like already with a new food that you want them to try. Don't just give them new foods with nothing else on offer. Now, this is, again, it's a whole lesson, but E10 and S5, it stands for 100 exposures and the 5 senses. In a very small nutshell, our kids need constant exposures to a particular food. Thankfully, they don't need to actually physically taste it 100 times or up to 100 times. Every child has their own sort of threshold of when their exposure bucket is full. But thankfully, an exposure to a food can be any one of these 5 senses. It can be seeing it, touching it, feeling it, smelling it, hearing it. Maybe you're kind of doing something that's, There's some auditory stuff involved and whatever, all 5 senses. So what you can do is actually, when you're at the shops, get your child to go and pick up that piece of vegetable and put it in the trolley, or pass it to you at home, get it out of the fridge, help you chop it, watch you blend it up in a smoothie. All these things count as exposures, and that's what we want to keep going. I'm going to fly through these, guys. We've got lots to get through. Number 6, play the long game. When we're not playing the long game, that's when we start to force. That's when we start to get out of our lane. That's when we keep it heavy instead of light. We just need to be very real about the fact that this is not going to be an overnight change for your child, and just be okay with that. Take the pressure off yourself, for goodness sakes. Just play the long game. Know that you've got some, when you know what strategies you're implementing in your family, you can take peace in that and take the foot off the pedal, so to speak. You can just sit in the knowing that these are the strategies that work, that have been proven, and you don't need to continually force it. Okay, keep shuffling. Now, this is one that I love. I can't spend too much time on it, but basically, knowing all those principles, we still actually want to shuffle our kids along. We can't just let them run the show with what they will and won't eat, because that might take forever depending on their personality. This is a bit of a nuanced principle that that you just need to feel out where your child is at. So wherever their boundary is, like they might be willing to touch a food but not to eat it, then the next step for them would be to lick it or to hold it in their mouth and then spit it out. I've had great success using this principle with a beautiful young girl that I looked after a couple of days a week for 6 weeks, who only ever ate hyper-processed food, and she was on the spectrum, and she had a really big difficulty with trying new foods. By the time she left us, she was requesting to try things like the seaweed salad from the sushi shop. She was requesting to try all sorts of things that she never would have before, because I never forced. I kept it light. I invited her, and I also was shuffling her along, would make a game of it, of all the different things that she could progress onto, these micro steps in the sensory processing of food. Respect preferences, guys. I'm going to skip over that one tonight. We just don't have time to go into it. And number 9, boost. We're going to talk about boosting tonight. But basically, when your child is still picky or fussy, and they are still, they're not yet getting what they need in, because remember, we're playing the long game, so it can take some time. What you want to do in the meantime is just boost the foods they're already accepting of. So if your child loves pancakes, what you want to do is try to boost those pancakes until they're getting that wide variety of food in, and you don't have to rely on it as their source of nutrients. Does that make sense? Tell me in the comments which one of those, if any, feel relevant for you or your child. I'm super interested. And bear in mind too, lastly, before we move on to recipes and ideas, bear in mind that there's always a reason that your child might be fussy or picky. And we do go into this in No Fuss as well, but basically there's lots of different physiological reasons why they could be fussy. And it's important to explore what they are. It could be gut health, that there's this imbalance of microbes in their gut, and the opportunistic microbes actually make your child crave the sugary, high carb, white food, stuff like that. It could be a range of different things. So just bear in mind that there might be a reason. Danielle says, I need to remember the long game. Yeah, we all do. And connection before coercion, someone else said. Absolutely. Kay's son asked, sometimes we'll lick the cucumber when served. Has now asked for it in his lunchbox this week. That is amazing, Kay. That's a big achievement. Well done. Okay, let's get going. With all this being said, I think it's now time to go into these go-to meal ideas. So first, let's talk breakfast. I might just do that because, oops. Nope, that's not what I want. Let's try this one. Okay, that'll do. Breakfast, a lot of people tell me breakfast is the hardest meal of the day. And I've never understood it, because I feel the complete opposite. I feel like breakfast, there's this plethora array of fabulous, low fuss, healthy and tasty, quick breakfast options at our fingertips. What I can understand is an addiction to cereal and toast, and that being a hard thing to break. But in terms of what is on offer elsewhere, there's so many ideas. So I'm going to give you some ideas of what my family love. Now, anyone that knows me, I'm going to gloss over this. Don't worry. I'm not going to launch into a whole smoothie boot camp speech. But anyone who knows me knows that I'm a smoothie gal, and I will give a smoothie to myself and my family at any chance I have for breakfast. So our go-to flavors, actually, for a long time when he was younger, Max, our 10-year-old boy, he only liked his banana smoothie, and it was just banana, milk, honey, and cinnamon. That was all it was. And I've tweaked it over time to banana, cinnamon, sweet potato puree frozen in an ice cube block, cauliflower, same thing, frozen in this ice cube block, a little bit of MCT oil, the ketogenic booster blend, which, you know, we can, if you know our smoothie booster blends, it's on our store, but the keto blend. And what was the other one? The other thing that I added, but it's this boosted. And he said, I know you put stuff in it. That's the one I actually want now. That's my favorite. So banana is a great one to boost with those types of non-colored boosters, cauliflower, MCT oil, sweet potato puree. They're really good ones. Chocolate or choc ginger is another favorite. Berries or berries ginger. We're a big ginger loving family. It really kind of lifts it. It gives it a kick. If you've added lots of boosters into your smoothie and there's a bit of a taste twang, ginger will usually take care of that. It just kind of cuts through it all and just makes it fresh and zingy. Green smoothies, mango is the current favorite. Mango passion fruit being the beginning of summer. Okay, let's scoot past smoothies. Now, when it comes to porridge, you guys, I remember going to the hairdresser at some point recently, and the hairdresser's daughter had told her mum that she wanted to have porridge in the mornings. And the hairdresser was complaining to me saying, who's got time to stand at the stovetop and stir for 15 minutes with this saucepan? And I was like, hang on, you don't need to. All you have to do is throw oats into your saucepan with a bunch of water. It doesn't even have to be milk. I never use milk for porridge. It's only ever water. And you literally turn it on and you leave it. You walk away and you start packing lunches. I never stand there and stir. It's the quickest, easiest thing ever. You can also put date paste in while you're cooking as your sweetener, and with the added health benefits of date paste. If you've heard me talk about smoothies before, you know how much I love date paste. If you have questions about date paste, let me know in the comments and I'll make sure I get that to you. Or you can use raw honey, but use it after you've taken it off the heat, because the raw honey, as you know, is just jam-packed, full of goodness. And when you heat it past like 40 degrees, it will kill it off. So just wait till it's off the heat, then put your honey through. With boosting porridge, my favorite ways are cinnamon. Cinnamon is just amazing. Make sure you throw cinnamon in whatever you can, but make sure it's a good cinnamon. It's called Sri Lankan, or the other term for it is True Verum cinnamon. That's the one with all the health properties that we want. MCT oil or butter as a source of fat, because when we have a source of fat with our meal, it actually phenomenally helps us absorb the nutrients from that food. It's the best tip I could ever give, is add a fat to any goodness that you're eating. You can also experiment with putting LSA or linseed meal, or of course our stacked porridge booster blend in that porridge. You can also put yogurt and fruit on top, of course. So that's the porridge. You can also make it any different type of flavor. The flavors that our kids sometimes like is you just put cacao in there, or the chocolate blend makes it a chocolate blend, makes it a chocolate porridge. And you can also put peanut butter through there to make it a peanut butter porridge. You can just play with it, berries, whatever. Now, the other summery type of oat breakfast is, now we'll be moving past the basics in just a minute, but please don't knock a bowl of oats. Like, if you're adding some boosters to it and it's, you do get variety in elsewhere, a bowl of oats is amazing. My kids' favorite, and because in summer, especially in Queensland where we are, we do not want porridge in summer. And if they want to change from a smoothie, they will often have oats. And so all they do is they literally put rolled oats in a bowl with cinnamon, frozen raspberries, and the milk of their choice. And that is it. Of course, if I'm making it for them, I tend to put the porridge booster blend or some LSA or like whatever boosters you want to put in there. But that is the most delicious thing. And I know that it sounds so bland and gross, but I've converted lots of people over to this breakfast. It is really good. Raw honey is another good one too. Yeah, someone said, I love the ginger tip. I sometimes make smoothies that are a little off. Yeah, it's a good one. Okay, now, when it comes to pancakes, you guys, I know that you might roll your eyes and say, who's got time to make pancakes on a school morning? What I want to say is this. We went through a stage for about, well, probably for about 18 months. And now off and on, we'll still sometimes do it. But we make what we call oat pancakes. I'm going to give you the recipe tomorrow. In the oat pancakes, it is jam-packed, full of goodness. I really should do a premix, but I just have never gotten around to it. I'll just give you the recipe. And you can make a big dry mix or even a wet mix, like you can add everything into it and just keep it in the fridge for the week or for a few days at a time, whatever you want to do. If it's a dry mix, of course, you can just keep it in the pantry, for ages. But then you just take a little bit out and put it on the fry pan and then turn around, do something else, come back and flip it over. Like, it is not time consuming to do. Of course, if you want boosted pancakes, like on a weekend, this is my tip for boosted pancakes. You get your regular pancake recipe. Jamie Oliver's is just the no-fail one. It's just 1 cup of water, 1 cup of milk, 1 egg, and 1 teaspoon of baking powder to make it rise, to make the flour self-raising flour. That's all it is. And then what you can do is just take half of that flour and replace it with a combination of all the different flours that you might have in your pantry: buckwheat flour, besan or chickpea flour, almond flour, all these different nutrient-dense whole foods with a diverse range of goodness in them. And your pancakes are going to be like boosted. Or if you want done for you, of course, you can buy the boosted pancakes that we offer at Stacked. So that's pancake options. Before I move on, someone has said, how do we make date paste? My kids refuse steel cut oats we make each day for us adults. Tips for healthy sweetening may really help us. Yeah, cool. You may also, I know that steel cut oats are better nutritionally than rolled oats. However, in an effort to bring the kids across the line, you may want to start with the rolled oats and then graduate up to steel cut oats. But to make date paste, it's so simple. Just get an empty jar, whatever, or a container, whatever you've got. Fill it with your dates. You just your cheap, regular dried dates, and just cover it with filtered water and just let it sit for a minimum of 2 hours, or you could just leave it on the bench all day while you go out. That's fine. And then after that time, you're going to dump it all into the blender or the food processor and whiz it up. That's it. And then you keep it in the fridge or the freezer. And you can just use it for pancakes, smoothies, curries. Oh, we just use it for a lot of things. So it's very, very handy. And it's full of minerals. It's low GI. I could go on and on. I love it. Okay, the next breakfast idea is brown rice pudding. This is a favorite for our kids, particularly in winter. I'll give you the recipe tomorrow. But basically, the complex carbohydrates that are in brown rice and all the added nutrients, etc., this is a winner. It's got a bit of spices in there, but not too much. It's got your date paste. It's a beautiful recipe. Sometimes I even put one of those steamed, pureed, frozen cauliflower ice bricks in the rice as it's simmering away, and it just kind of disintegrates into the pudding. So you get that little bit of extra goodness in there too. Yeah, oh, that's a great tip. Someone has said here, I pre-cook all my pancakes and then freeze them and reheat. So easy. I love that idea. I've actually never done that, and I've heard that tip before and I always forget, and I've never tried it. So I love to hear that it works. Kay has said, presumably gluten-free flour would sub well for that flour in that pancake recipe, ? And yeah, Kay does the reheating the pancakes too. Kay, I've been trying to work on a gluten-free boosted pancake recipe and as yet haven't been able to pull it off perfectly. So when I do, I'll let you know. And someone else has said, yes, porridge in the crock pot or the slow cooker. Absolutely. So many so many genius ways of making it work. Now, the next thing is this, scrambled eggs. Now, you may have heard my hack for scrambled eggs. My kids will they don't like plain scrambled eggs. They like mum's boosted scrambled eggs. And all you do is I'll give you the recipe again tomorrow. But inside the boosted scrambled eggs, you just have a little premix in your spice drawer. Again, I was going to make this blend and sell it, but it just wasn't going to work. It was going to be too expensive for you guys, so I just canned it. So I'll give you the recipe tomorrow. But it's got so much goodness in there, and it's so easy and quick, and it makes your scrambled eggs, eggs are already an amazing nutrient powerhouse, but you're up leveling it again. It's got garlic and dulse and turmeric and chicken broth and lots of goodness in there. Chia puddings, you guys. Now, I will preface this by saying that 3, maybe 4 of the 7 of us in my family like chia pudding. It seems to be something that you either love or you hate. There's not much in between. One tip, though, for those who don't like chia pudding, try whizzing up, if you've got some type of, what do you call it? If you've got like a coffee grinder or a mill, if you've got something like that, try to just blend up your chia seeds before making the chia pudding and put some cacao in it, and it will be like a chocolate mousse. I have fooled the kids before with a whizzed up chocolate chia pudding, and they thought it was a chocolate mousse. The tip that I want to give you for chia pudding is very simple. 1 part chia seeds to 4 parts liquid. My favorite flavor combos I'm going to put in the downloadable tomorrow. Now, the next one, and look, I know that some of these are simple, and that's what we want. Like, I don't want to sit here coming up with these crazy breakfast ideas that you've never heard of that are going to take you too long. Sometimes we just need a reminder, and there's, of all these gazillion different ideas, there's going to be a few things that you haven't thought of for a while, and you're like, oh yeah, I can try that. That's what I want. I don't want anything but simple. So yogurt with toppers. My son, Max, is a bit tricky with school lunches. He's the only one of my kids that I've found very tricky at this season of life with school lunches. We're going to have a dedicated training on school lunches next week because it was a pretty popular requested topic. But this was something that was about his saving grace, was this for his school lunch. We gave him a little thermos. We put some organic plain yogurt in there with some raw honey, some cinnamon, and then all these toppers, some seeds and granola and fruit. And he'd just kind of pour the granola in and eat it happily until his friends started to tease him about it. So now that's gone out the window. But that's what life is like with kids and school lunch boxes. You're forever kind of jumping from what they do like and now what they don't like. I know, I understand that. Okay, we've got, this is our last suggestion for breakfast. It's not really one that I make for the kids very much, maybe on the weekend, but I wanted to throw it in there in case your kids are bigger fans of omelets than mine. But my favorite way of doing it, I'm going to give you the recipe for my favorite omelet tomorrow in the downloadable. And 2 to 3 of my kids really love it, but the other ones won't eat it. But I love it. I love it. And we've got to remember to make the stuff that we like as well, because if I had just made what my kids liked, then those 2 to 3 kids who now love omelets would never have grown to love omelets, because they would never have been exposed or seen me eating it and enjoying it, and then being brave enough to ask for a bite and then go, oh, actually, I like that too. Can you make me some next time? Like, that's kind of how a lot of these things go. So don't forget to make what you love, not just what the kids like. But the main principle when it comes to breakfast is to focus on good fats, complex carbs to fuel them for the day. Some protein in there too. So if you can just don't even worry about that. I mean, it's actually a bit complex to say, okay, focus on good fats, protein, and complex carbs for breakfast. I'm just going to give you those ideas in the downloadable tomorrow because they'll all have those elements in there. It's basically just whole foods. Like, just focus on giving your kids whole foods, and you'll find that you actually don't need to be too mindful of all the different macronutrients and making sure that you've got enough of this or that. It will naturally just be part of what happens in your diet. Okay, someone has asked, can I repeat the chia grinding tip? Why for? Okay, so just real quick, that chia grinding tip is for those people who might hate chia pudding. I said you either love it or you hate it. In my experience, there's not a whole lot in between. If you hate chia pudding, before you write it off and say, my child hates chia pudding, I'm not going to make it for them, just try a couple of times grinding the chia seeds in a coffee grinder or a mill of some sort. A regular blender or food processor will not work. I've tried it before. And add some cacao to it and it will turn into like a chocolate mousse consistency. And I have fooled my kids before. They thought it was chocolate mousse. So it might work, it may not, but some people love chia pudding. And if you do, that's a great option. My son, I'm just reading one of the comments. My son was teased when he took his chicken breast and salad to school in year 8. By year 10, his mates were bringing it too. Oh, we could talk forever in a day about peer pressure and school lunches. It really gets my goat. Kay said that's horrible behavior. Yeah, my 10-year-old is currently bullied about food too. Oh my gosh, yes. Okay, we're going to talk about that on Wednesday night next week. So make sure you come to that because I've got some strategies for you. Okay, now to close off breakfast, excuse me, to close off breakfast, I just want to talk about some tips to ditch the cereal. Because like I said before, it's all well and good to have all these great ideas. And really, there are so many great breakfast ideas, as we've just discovered. There's so many out there. But really, perhaps the biggest issue is weaning our family off the cereal and the toast. And so, look, if your kids are just real stuck on cereal, here's what I would do. I would continue to buy the cereal. I would continue to let them have the cereal, but I would also give them something on the side to accompany the cereal. Like I said before, in the first tips for fussy kids, give the new food alongside the friendly food. This is what this is. We're going the friendly food is cereal, and we're offering the new food alternative to the side as an option for them. Show them that you enjoy it, and then just start giving them just a little bit on the side. And as time goes on, you can increase what you're giving them on the side. You'll discover what they like of all those options we've just gone through, and you'll hone in on one that they like. And you'll just start giving that side option a bit bigger as time goes on. And you'll start reducing the cereal down. And what you might do is just limit the amount of cereal that you're buying. So let's just say if you're buying 3 or 2 boxes of cereal now a week, then as your kid, not yet, but as your kids become more comfortable with that side option being presented to them and they're starting to accept it, that's the time that I would just reduce the amount of cereal you're buying by a little bit so that it runs out before the end of the week. And you're like, well, my shopping day is actually Tuesday. So that we just have to, there's no cereal until Tuesday. So you're not saying that you're never buying cereal again. You're just saying that I'm not going to the shops especially to buy cereal. You can wait till Tuesday. And then because they're already starting to accept something else, they will start to become a bit more comfortable and accepting of that as a main meal. One other tip that my kids sometimes love is puffed cereal. The topic of puffed cereal, as we recently discovered in the No Fuss fam, is a big one. All I'm going to say on it right now is that the only puffed cereal that I will ever give the kids is the Good Morning cereal brand. We'll just leave it there. But you can get the puffed brown rice from Good Morning cereal and just put some raw honey on it and call it rice bubbles. It's not the same. Of course, it's not the same. It's not really crunchy, but it's something that my kids enjoy. And that might be for the kids who are already off cereal, but they might just like the fun of having something like that again. And what you can do, if your kids love rice bubbles, you could dilute the rice bubbles with a little bit of, like, as they start to eat the rice bubbles, you can top it up with that Good Morning cereal brown rice puffs. And as time goes on and they're eating it more and more, you just top it up more and more until it's like 100% natural brown rice puffs. But my top tip that works for my family is this. We have had my beautiful parents, we've been sharing a home with them for about 5 years, love them to death. But the number one challenge has been around food. We don't eat the same, and that's okay. But it has been this source of difficulty between, source of difficulty sharing a home, because the kids will just go straight into straight into their kitchen and ask for whatever they've got, and they've got cereal. So what I will sometimes do, if they've been allowed to have cereal, then the rule is, okay, we'll just have the rolled oats in your bowl, and then you just use the cereal as a topper. And so that's kind of where you can graduate to with your kids as well. If you can get them comfortable having the rolled oats in a bowl, then you can just have the cereal as a bit of a topper, but the main meal is there with the rolled oats. So that's an idea too. Has any of that helped? Am I kind of hitting where you guys want to hear? Let me know if the tips on how to ditch cereal was helpful. Now, when it comes to toast, okay, let's breeze through this so that we can get to lunches and dinners and stuff. Tips to ditch the toast. Number one, absolutely just improve the bread you're buying. Like, that's such an easy thing to do. There are some great brand options out there, even at Woolies and Coles. Basically, just get an organic bread. Like, that is going to be a gazillion times better for reasons that I don't have time to go into right now. Sourdough is even better, especially if it's toast. Sourdough makes an amazing toast. So an organic sourdough bread, it doesn't have to cost the earth. I think they're $5 at Woolies and Coles. So you can, it's potentially $2 extra to what you're paying. So depending on how much bread you go through, then it might be a burden or a hurdle, but that's just an option for you. I'm glad to hear it's helpful. Thank you. That's great. Tip number two is to improve the spreads. Like, if your child is currently having a low quality bread for the toast and then smothering margarine and regular peanut butter on it, that is such an easy swap out. You just improve the bread. They don't even know when it's toast. They might if it's a sandwich. Number two, improve the butter. Just use regular butter, ideally organic, but regular butter that comes in the block. I have a reel that will go onto my social media account very soon, comparing the butters at Aldi and explaining which one's better than the other. But just go for butter and natural peanut butter instead of regular peanut butter. We have spoken about this before. If you were around this time last year for the No Fuss Nourish boot camp, we went deep on spreads. We had a dedicated video for each different spread. So just improve the bread, butter, and spreads. And if they have, say, 2 pieces of toast for breakfast in the morning, and let's just say you cut it into 4 pieces if it's a small child, why don't you just introduce one of those 8 little squares of toast with some avocado on top, or some miso paste, which is amazing. It's a Vegemite alternative, and it's organic soybeans that have been fermented into a probiotic food, and it's just like peanut butter. It's just like Vegemite. So you can just swap out one of the squares. It's not threatening because they've got so much of their regular stuff they love. And then just gradually over time, as they accept it, make it 2 squares and 3 squares, and you get the point. The rule in my family is a maximum of 2 slices of toast a day. 2 slices of bread a day, whether that's a sandwich in the school lunch, or whether it's toast for breakfast with some avocado, miso, and the boosted scrambled eggs on top, which is the ultimate toast. Or whether it's people reach for toast as snacks, right? Like, it's just 2. And I don't say that's because it's too much bread for your system and it's too much wheat, or you might get, I don't go into the health, the health principles around too much, flour and bread. All I do is I just say, look, I only bought X number of loaves, or my food budget is this, and there's 7 people in our family, so we all just get 2 slices a day. That's you're maxed out today. Sorry, no more. So you can just, start to build in some boundaries around food that aren't necessarily even around nutrition, because sometimes we can feel like we talk about nutrition till we're blue in the face with our kids, and it starts to get a little bit annoying, and it starts to build this negative food culture around food. But if you can just remove the blame from nutrition and place it on your budget or your time frame to get back to the shop, or there was no bread at the shop today, or whatever, then that's what you can do. Miso, yes, cool. Okay, someone's saying they'd like more information on spreads. I wonder if I can dig up that video. Maybe I can. I don't know where it is. I'll have to find it. It would actually, who would like that? Would anyone like a rerun of the boot camp that we ran this time last year? It was a bit earlier last year, where we went into breads and butters and spreads and simple swaps. Yeah, Megan liked the 2 slices of bread. Yeah, Megan would love a rerun. Okay. Yes, please. Okay, let me see what I can do. Okay, cool. All right. Now, if you feel that your family are ready for it, you could also just try going cold turkey on the cereal or switch to a quality granola. And for us, here's the thing, like for us at home, if the option is here, like let's just say that my role, we spoke about the roles, the division of responsibility. We spoke about our role as parents being we decide what food comes in and what's on offer and when, right? And it's our child's job to decide which of, of what's on offer, what are they going to eat and how much and if any at all. That's the division of responsibility. So it's our job to decide what comes into the home, not our kids. That's up to us. But of course, we want to be sensitive to them. We want this to be a positive journey. And so only you are going to know your kids best. For me, having raised our kids on whole foods predominantly, like we're not perfect at it, and it took time initially, of course. But if there's a box of cereal in our cupboard, of course, they are going to reach for that. Like it will always be reached for. It's appealing. It's high sugar. It's simple carbs. It's quick energy. And it's usually hyper palatable thanks to the genius work of the food scientists at those big brands, Kellogg's, etc. Our kids don't stand a chance against all that. Of course, they're going to want to reach for it. So for the stage of where I'm at, I just don't buy it because that's the only way that I can, I just feel confident and comfortable that the kids will survive and they're not going to resent it. They're fine because we're at that stage. But you might just need to make a decision as to, is your family ready to go cold turkey? And so if you decide that the time is right, then you can just stop buying it. Consider implementing some of those interim measures that we spoke about first, and then just let your family know that you've decided as a leader of the family and as someone who loves them and wants the best for them, that you just won't be buying it anymore. Or maybe it's just for the weekends. That was something that I did for a while. Or maybe just for school holidays. Whatever time frame you feel is a small stretch for them. All right. So tell us, we're finished now with breakfast. Tell us which of those breakfasts, please. I'd love to know. Which one is one that you feel you want to try with your family? Which is something that you might have forgotten about that you want to try again, or maybe that you haven't done before. Danielle says, I'm trying that too, 2 slices. Meanwhile, hubby is having at least 6 slices a day though. And 3.5, Miss 3.5 is old enough to question now. Yes, we need to bring out that partner, the training on how to navigate things with partners, I think. Okay, chia pudding is one that someone's going to try this week. I love that. Yep, chia seeds again. And you guys, look, if you've done the fiber challenge, I'm not going to launch into my fiber challenge spiel about chia pudding again, but just know, excuse me, just know that chia pudding is really one of the best breakfast meals that you can possibly have, especially for women who are wanting to balance their hormones. It's loaded with fiber, which is amazing. Like if you suffer with constipation, make sure you have a lot of water through the day because that does suck up lots of water, but it has already sucked up that water, so it shouldn't really be an issue. But with your chia pudding, if you are having that regularly every day, the only thing I don't like about it is that there's no vegetables in there. So just make sure that you really are getting a hearty amount of vegetables in your other meals of the day. Megan said, strangely, my kids don't like toast or cereal. Woo! That's awesome. Weirdly, I want them to eat it because it's quick and easy running out to school, but I'm stuck on what else is achievable. I've only just come onto video, so looking forward to watching the beginning for ideas. Yeah, Megan, yeah, you can scroll through, and tomorrow there'll be a downloadable with all the recipes for everything. Brown rice pudding, yes. Look, I've tried a few alternate brown rice pudding recipes out there on the web, on the internet, and we haven't liked any of them as much as the recipe I'll give you tomorrow, so try that one, okay? Someone else said we already do boosted porridge. I'm keen to try the chia mousse. All right, excellent. The frog egg. She's a hater of the frog egg sensation. Yep, that's what people say about chia pudding. Chia pudding, chia pudding. Gosh, everyone's on the chia pudding bandwagon. The toppers on the yogurt. What a great idea. Yes. interesting porridges. Yep. An egg booster. Yes, I'll give you that recipe tomorrow. The liquid in the chia pudding. Someone's asked for which liquid I use in the chia pudding. I have 2 favorite recipes. I'll give you them tomorrow, but just real quick right now, if I do a chocolate one, it's cacao with half water, half coconut milk or coconut cream. The coconut cream will need a bit more liquid because it sets hard. So that's the only caveat I have to the 1 part chia seeds to 4 parts liquid. And don't worry, you'll get it tomorrow. But the other flavor that I like is, and so good for summer, it's just white chia seeds with coconut water, a passion fruit, the seeds of it and juice of a passion fruit, and some frozen raspberries. It is like this summer sensation. Like, it is delicious. Okay. All right, let's move on, you guys. What time is it? 8:09. Probably 9:09 for some of you guys. Okay. All right, for lunch. I'm actually going to skip lunch because that's great for our interest of time, but it's also coming next week when we go into lunch boxes for school. So I'm actually going to completely skip lunch. When it comes to lunch for you, that's a different conversation because remember today it's just all about what everyone asked for, which was easy, kid-friendly stuff. So let's skip lunch. This is going to make it a bit quicker, isn't it? Now, when it comes to dinner, I'm not going to take as long talking about strategies. We've kind of covered a lot already, but there are some systems and habits that we're going to discuss later because tonight is all about the suggestions and recipes and ideas. I'm just going to kind of breeze through. The first idea for dinner is basically anything wrapped in pastry. Kids just seem to love anything that's in pastry. The great thing about that is that there are lots of highly nutritious fillings for pastry, and I'll give you some ideas in a second. However, the downside is, as a lot of us know, puff pastry is a bit of a minefield when it comes to chemicals and, gluten for some who are gluten intolerant, and glyphosate, etc., etc., etc. So, I have now, in my sort of rhythm of how I do things with my family, I'll typically do something with puff pastry once every couple of weeks, and really not much more than that. As much as they beg like their favorite dinner, whenever I say, what do you want for dinner this week? They will invariably say what they call puff pastries, which is really just chicken and some frozen veggies. I'll give you the recipe tomorrow. It's so easy and quick. And the kids fill it themselves and crunch up the sides and put it in the oven. But what I want to say about puff pastry is that there are some better options. So when you're at the supermarket level, what you want to reach for is something called butter puff pastry. It is the Pampers brand. It's a little bit more expensive than the regular one. However, it's made with real butter instead of highly inflammatory vegetable oils, margarines, etc. So reach for the butter one as step number 1. That's a gazillion times better than the regular one. The next step up would be the Careme brand, Careme, Careme brand. And you can look online for their stockists. They are very expensive, though. I'm just going to say that. They are very expensive. But that's a great option. If you just want to do it once in a while and you really want to avoid all the nasties, that's a good one. When it comes to a gluten-free one, Monica, what's her name? She has a great gluten-free puff pastry recipe, but I've never made my own puff pastry, and I actually have zero plans to ever make my own puff pastry. There are limits to my dedication around making sure that we get no nasties in. Like, we're not perfect, and sometimes, always life has to be manageable, and so that's where I draw the line. I'm not going to make my own puff pastry. But here are some ideas of when you do have puff pastry. Like I said before, the chicken puff pastry triangles I'll give you tomorrow. That's my recipe. Veggie loaded quiche. Now, don't roll your eyes about this one with kids. I have served this. I joke you not. You know how a lot of people just have their recipe that they're known for amongst their circle of people in their community. This quiche is mine. I've served it at weddings that I've contributed food to. I serve it to my family regularly. I serve it to lots and lots of the kids' friends over time have come over and enjoyed that quiche. And it is loaded with goodness. So I will give you that recipe tomorrow, but also sausage rolls. I don't have anything against a good quality meat per se, but the recipe I'm going to give you tomorrow for the sausage rolls in the puff pastry is a vegan one. And the reason I've done that, apart from catering to those who don't want to have so much meat, and, we don't want to have a whole bunch of meat either. We're trying to really reduce that down. In favor of so when you remove the meat, it just makes room to have all this other goodness. Like it's got so many beautiful nuts. It's got tofu in there, which if you're scared of soy, please don't be. That's a topic for another day, but it has been completely debunked for decades and decades. Soy, and a good quality organic non-GMO soy, is actually crucial for our hormonal health. It's amazing, isn't it? It's the opposite of what we've been told all this time. So sausage rolls, quiche, chicken, pastry squares. Yeah. So that's what I do with puff pastry. We got a bit distracted with that one. Mexican. We'll talk about systems, but one thing I will say is that Mexican's on the menu most, for one night of most weeks' meal plans. It's just an easy go-to. And within that theme, you can rotate through nachos, burritos, burrito bowls, like a pulled beef brisket on a wrap thing. Enchiladas. My kids don't like enchiladas, but they love all the other options. And when it comes to boosting these types of meals, any sort of mince-based meal, this is my number one hack. You want to get yourself a mandolin. And if you've heard me say this before, forgive me, but hopefully it's a good reminder. You don't want to use a grater. Don't use a grater for this. Use a mandolin. It just makes the world of difference. You can get one online for maybe $50, brand new, maybe on Marketplace for less. And you want to chop, just by doing this real quick, it's like takes you 2 minutes, a whole eggplant, a zucchini. Actually, if your kids are super fussy, leave out the zucchini because the green skin does show sometimes. So just do an eggplant and then chop up mushrooms real fine, just super fine. And then throw some red lentils in there as well. They will dissolve and disappear. And that is a really good boosted mince base for anything, for Mexican, for Italian, for all sorts of different things. So that's what I will always do with the mince. It's basically, I'll do like one 500-gram tray of mince, and then I'll do more than that again in veggies, and it feeds my family of 7 twice. So we're not really having a whole lot of meat, but we are getting lots of veggies into. So you can use that hack for all sorts of things. When it comes to nachos, just choose a non-GMO corn. Like organic corn chips are, they're kind of readily available now. They're becoming more readily available for a decent price too. So that's what you can do for that. No worries, Danielle. I understand it's getting late. If you need to go, that's okay. The replay will be here and you'll get the downloadable tomorrow. I think I need to breeze through these a bit more. What do you reckon? Actually, we're almost there. Actually, we are almost there, you guys. So Italian night is, again, same. If you've got mince, boost it the way that I've said to do it. I'm going to give you an epic lasagna recipe, or principles to follow when boosting lasagna. Oh my gosh, it's next level, super boosted and delicious. Pizza, I'm going to give you a veggie packed pizza sauce recipe to try, as well as booster ideas for the base. So good. I don't know if I should be embarrassed to say this or not, but I made a recipe the other night and Jordan declared it as the best meal I have ever made in the 18 years of marriage that we have had. It was such a simple meal. It's called caprese chicken. It's not my recipe, but I'm going to give it to you tomorrow. It's so good. Pesto pasta is another one. I'm not going to talk about pesto very much, other than to say it's the best way to get the amazingness of fresh herbs into your children. You can just make a pesto, stir it through some pasta, or just have it with some crackers. Gosh, that is the best. The other thing we can talk about is Asian. My family have less Asian than we do Italian and Mexican, but rice paper rolls, we had this last night. We had a whole other family for dinner last night, plus an older single man. So there was 1, 2, 3, 4. That was probably like, oh gosh, I don't even know. I can't count right now when I'm, my brain just disappears when I'm live. I can't think. But a lot of people here, and we just made a huge table full of chopped up veg for rice paper rolls, made a peanut dipping sauce, and it was delicious. I won't say that it's not It's not my kids' favorite meal, but Jordan and I love it. And one of the kids loves it and the others are coming around slowly. And that's what I want to remind you of, is that don't stop making the things you love just because it's not your kid's favorite. They will come around if they're exposed to it enough. And if they're given options, like we said, they could just put their stuff on rice instead of using the rice paper rolls because the texture they didn't like the texture. That was okay. But just give it a go. Stir fries are another great option. That there's a really yummy stir fry recipe that I'll give you tomorrow as well. Now, one thing that is essential for our family each week, and I will tell you why in the school lunchboxes video, but that's a big hint, is I will do a big chicken roast with lots of veg once a week. And I'll do lots of chicken to see us through for the week. And I'll tell you how I use it in the video on school lunches. Now, one night a week, we will typically, what happened? Oh, not there. Okay, that's fine. One night a week, I aim to, doesn't always happen, but I aim to have an outside meal. Like, we live close to the beach. So the aim or the goal is to get down to the beach once a week and have a barbecue, or to go have a picnic in the park or something, just to be outdoors, especially at this time of year. Whenever I get out, say it like I'm a prisoner in my own home, like whenever I get out at the time that we'd normally be making dinner and eating dinner, I realize how beautiful the world is. And I'm like, why are we not outside at this time of day? It's the best time of day. And we're home in the hot kitchen, like making dinner and stuff. No. So then I just, once a week, I got in the habit of going, I just found a butcher that did some good quality patties. You can easily make your own. Lots of great recipes online, but I just wanted to make life a bit easier. At the farmer's market, there were some organic burger buns, like bread buns, that I would get as well. So I just had the bread done and the patties done. And then all we had to do was throw in a few tomatoes and cheese and whatever, beetroot, whatever we wanted on top. We'd just throw it in the esky with a knife and a chopping board. We'd go down to the beach, have a barbecue, make burgers. And we would do like fried eggs on there as well. It was so good. Yes, you're feeling me. She said, gosh, I feel the same, Lainey. Seeing the sunset is so beautiful. Don't you feel like you forget, and then you get out there, you're like, oh my gosh, we need to eat dinner out at the beach or at the park somewhere more often. Other things that we do when we're out and about that aren't burgers would be a platter with, which is like I'm going to say this so wrong. It's going to sound very unintelligent. I want to say prosciutto board. I know that's not what it is. But it's, that platter with the crackers and the cheese and the olives and the pesto dip and all those things. Sometimes we just have a light dinner like that and we just take a platter and we all just pick at it. And we have, as long as they're getting lots of pesto in, I'm happy. Other things are just, if we've got leftover chicken from a meal, just do chicken salad wraps down at the beach. Just make it easy for yourself once a week and just make it routine. Megan's relating, and your grazing platter, antipasto. Yeah, there's another word, you guys. My daughters know it, and they make fun of me when I say prosciutto board. But anyway, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, we're almost there. Yes, that is the one. Charcuterie board. There you go. Charcuterie. I don't know if I'm saying it right. Okay, so the other thing that I will always do, and I know I said I wouldn't talk systems and things, but here we are, we're talking systems. One night a week, at least, you're going to walk through the door and it's going to be bedtime already for the kids. You don't have anything to feed them. You just kind of need them to eat something and go to bed, right? You stayed out late at a school event or whatever. So they're the nights that I will pull out the green smoothie, or I will pull out the toasty, or I'll pull out the baked beans, or the pesto platter, or just basic fried, not even on an emergency night, but maybe a regular weeknight where I just can't be bothered. I will literally just fry up some chicken with some Mexican blend sprinkled on it and I always have rice in the fridge, so just warm that up and put some salad on the side. We don't need recipes all the time, you guys. We can just put together stuff. And sometimes on those nights when you come in the door late, or if you just want a quick weeknight meal, there's nothing wrong with that. I have no shame or guilt in feeding the kids any of those things at least, not least, maybe once a week, I reckon would be a good estimation. Please tell me that you relate. Now, when it comes to whatevs, or basically all the other stuff that I just didn't categorize, I'm just going to fly through them. Fritters are the best. I've got a great recipe that is a sure winner in your home. And there's a secondary one too that is fantastic as well. It's kind of, I'll save it for tomorrow. It's on the download level, but it's basically, it's got a garlic aioli with it, and it's made with rice and Parmesan cheese and corn and stuff in it. But then there's also a chicken mince feta carrot one that is Lisa Crawduff's one I'm going to give you tomorrow as well. Fritters are such a great option. You can fit in lots of vegetables, and it's fairly quick and easy. And you can even try putting them in the oven rather than standing at the fry pan and putting it in and flipping it over. Guys, it's getting late, and I've got probably like, I don't know, 8 different ideas of whatevs or uncategorized meals in there. It's not really going to do a whole lot of favors being me listing it out and just saying it. I'm just going to give it to you in the download tomorrow. You need a new recipe then. Someone said they never have any luck with homemade fritters. They always completely fall apart. Try these recipes. I think you'll love them. Okay, dessert. We don't really do dessert. I'm sorry, but I don't know. It's just I could. This is a whole conversation as well. We used to do dessert. We had a bit of a transitionary period, and now I just don't think about dessert, and neither do the kids much. But when they want to have something sweet or something extra after dinner, they will go to the fridge. They'll reach for yogurt. They'll put some berries on top. Sometimes, like last night when I had that family over. I had a ton of frozen mango. Oh, sorry, no, it was strawberries. I had a ton of frozen strawberries because the farmer's market was selling big boxes for $5 and they were spray free. It was amazing. So I bought heaps and I froze them. And I just threw that in the food processor with some coconut milk, about 2 limes, a little bit of vanilla and a bit of maple syrup. And it made a beautiful soft serve ice cream. Like, that's so easy to do. I made it. I had one child home today. Who he just was a bit under the weather, not sick, but enough to just have a rest day. And he wasn't really hungry for a meal. So I did that with mango, and that was his breakfast / lunch, when you don't really feel like eating much when you're unwell. So that was a beautiful, like, that type of stuff is so easy. So I'll give you that tomorrow. Lastly, and here's the last little bit. Oh, here we go. I had some pictures. Snacks. Again, I'm going to give this to you tomorrow, but basically hummus and veg, pesto that we've spoken about, another chia pudding. I make a big chia pudding once a week, and I just put it in the fridge, and people can help themselves when they want it. I'm going to give you the best pikelet recipe in the world, protein rich, yogurt and granola. Some of these are redos, and that's okay. Like, they're just favorites of ours, and they have multi-purposes. That's the magic chocolate milkshake that has heaps of hidden veg in there. Toasties, salad wraps, bliss balls. I'm going to give you a great basic kid-friendly bliss ball. I have lots of bliss ball recipes that I like and that some of the kids like, but there is this one recipe that all the kids adore, and you can have it straight from the freezer. I make a big batch and they just eat it straight from the freezer. It's delicious. Popcorn, cheese and crackers, apple with peanut butter. And then these gummy jellies, which I will also give you the recipe for. Again, it's not my own, but it is the best. And the kids will just eat heaps of them. It's very gut healing. Okay, here's the thing. I really hope that this has been a helpful conversation and that tomorrow's download is really going to help you out. But I really want to say this. All these ideas and recipes are great, but if you're not in the zone, if you're not feeling in a space of openness and curiosity, if you're not feeling grounded and available to experiment, to learn new skills, to be a non-reactive sounding board for some grumblings as you try some things that the kids may not like initially and then try again, try to find the thing that they like, then this will all very quickly start to feel weighty, and you'll go back to autopilot, doing what you've always done and getting the same results. Our brains don't like change, and our kids and our partners may not like change either. And those neural pathways in our brain, they can become quite strong. And unless you're feeling well, like you may not be up to the task at hand of trying all these new things and finding the thing that sits and withstanding the grumbles that come in reply. And that's okay, because like we said earlier, we all do the best with what we have available to us. And I've been learning more and more and more about this lately. And so if you're reaching the afternoon and you're feeling tired, flattened, and you're sitting on the couch and you know that you've got to get up and make dinner, but you just don't have it in you to do it. You don't even have the willingness or ability to drive down the road to get some eggs or to make toast for dinner. It's just like that cereal for dinner night. Like that's a sign. And I've been loving learning a little bit from the girls at the Reconnected. They're doing a bit of a challenge at the moment. So they explained that that's when we're in this overloaded sympathetic nervous system state. That's when we've actually gone into freeze. You know how there's fight and flight and freeze and fawn? Freeze is this dysregulated nervous system. And when we feel that, because we all feel it sometimes, it's because we've been, the days are just full of all the things. And so we just get a bit dysregulated by the end of the day and we get into that freeze. We're overloaded. And so we actually, in those times, we need to up-regulate and move through that. And you might have heard me say before that we need to create our own energy and we really can regulate ourselves. And so some of the things that I might do in that stage is jump in a cold pool, have a cold shower, put some music on, have a dance, chase the kids around. But then again, like that is a lot of adulting as well, isn't it? Like there's a lot like to regulate ourselves and to navigate all this terrain of new meals and all the rest of it. And so if you're in a place of burnout, it just might not be the right time for all this change. And it requires not just overcoming your own set neural pathways, but that of your family as you navigate this new space. And so it might be the time for you to double down on your own self-care and your own nutrition, not your family's yet. And I just want to preface all this talk because I don't want to add to the negative self-critical talk that we all can do sometimes. I don't want to add on to that for you. I don't want to add on to the guilt and the shame because I have been in burnout before and I know what that feels like. So regardless of where you're at, any parent leading the charge of their family's wellness needs to first look after themselves. And so wherever we're at, we need to feel well before we can lead well. And so Wednesday, in 2 days, that training is all about you. And it's all about how we can take charge of ourselves and how we can captain our own ship and therefore captain the ship of our family. And as I'll share, I have learnt the very hard way about this. And if I can be at all a positive voice of encouragement to another woman who might be heading down that path and help her course correct to look after herself and prevent burnout, oh gosh, that would just make my year. So yes, put your own mask on first. That's exactly right. So tonight we've spoken about strategies for picky eaters. We've talked about ideas for breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks. Lunch is coming, I should say. And coming up on Wednesday, we've got ideas for you. On Friday, we've got how I pull it all together, a week in the life of my family and how the systems and habits I have to make it work. And the next week, we've got school lunches. We've got a Q&A. We've got lots of questions in that Q&A. And the person who asked for tips on how to nourish teenagers, that's when I'll answer that as well. We'll talk about some simple swaps. We'll talk about lots of different things. And then after that, we've got the No Fuss Fam or the No Fuss Nourish Method coaching membership opening for the first time in a very long time. Guys, okay. Someone just said this. I'm just learning this myself. Yep, you've been in burnout too. I hear that. If only we could listen to the loving people around us who warned us. I'm sure you had people warning you. I had people warning me. And I'm like, I'm fine. I'm invincible. I can do anything and I'm not going to burn out. Okay, Megan. Yes, tomorrow I'm going to send around the download with the recipes in it. It'll be toward the end of the day. And I'll just make sure you have it all. I'll post, if I can figure out how to do it, I'll post a link in the group to a download as well. But if not, it'll just be on Messenger for those who have registered. If you have not registered for this series of training, then you need to do that to get the download. That's really the only way I know how to do it properly. You're so welcome. For those saying thank you. I'm going to let you go. It's late. I will try to make Wednesday night's training shorter. Although it's a topic that I'm so passionate about, though, I may struggle with that. But guys, I hope this has been helpful. Sing out with any questions you have, and we will see you on Wednesday. Bye.